In May of 1985, a 17-year-old's body was found hanging inside her room with a 3-inch thick and 36-inch long cotton stash tied around her neck. Later on, investigators ruled it as a suicide, but something was odd about this 17-year-old's death. What made her commit suicide? Sure enough, most of you may probably have an idea who I'm talking about. Hi guys, you're listening to Elle's Voice, and welcome to the first story of this true crime segment of my podcast. For today's story, we'll be talking about Delia Smith, more popularly known as Pepsi Paloma. This is one of those stories that pushed me into making a podcast because this case has been going on for such a long time. It's even been taken down several times by the person involved in the case, and it just keeps coming up. Now, the people involved in this crime are alive and well, living the most of their luxurious lives up to this day. One of them is even a senator. Can you believe that? While I tell you this story, I just want to put it out there and tell you guys that I have done my research on this case. And if I do miss out on some points, if you guys do know more about this case, I would love to read about them in the comment section of my YouTube channel for those who are listening on that platform. Also, I want to bring as much light as I can to this case and voice out my opinions. I hope by listening to this case, you'll be able to understand how messed up the justice system is here in the Philippines. So without further ado, let's get started. Sino nga ba si Pepsi Paloma? Siya ay isang Filipino-American dancer at artista sa Pilipinas. Kilala siya bilang isa sa mga soft drink beauties na ipinakilala noong 1980s na kasama sina Sarcy Emanuel at Coca Nicolas sa ilalim ng management ni Ray de la Cruz. Sa batang edad, ang buhay para kay Pepsi ay mahirap na. Her family suffered financially after being abandoned by her father, Kenneth Smith. At dahil siya ang breadwinner ng kanilang sambahayan, this is where she meets Ray de la Cruz, who then became her talent manager and promised her for a possible film career. In 1981, she debuted in a film called Brown Emanuel, an adult film, and was first given the stage name Scarlett, pero nung hindi ito nakilala sa industriya, pinromote siya bilang isa sa mga soft drink beauties tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, at nabigyan ng stage name na Pepsi Paloma. So obviously, nung time na to, wala pang nag-e-exist na labor laws against working children or minors na nagtatrabaho sa ganung parte ng film industry. Okay, also during these times, bomba stars were a thing. Softcore porn was the norm, and there were lots of it inside the market. Still, it doesn't excuse what happened to her. Pepsi appeared in quite a number of bomba films or soft porn films later on. Then, she was involved in a scandal where she accused actors Vic Soto, Joey De Leon, and Ricardo Reyes of rape. At this point, you might be wondering what happened to Pepsi Paloma. So, in June of 1982, Paloma, along with her fellow actress Guadja Garin, made guest appearance at the comedy show School Bukol, which starred Bulaga's Emcees, Vic Soto, Joey De Leon, and Richie DeHorsey. After the taping, later that evening, Paloma and Garin were brought to room 210 of the nearby Sulu Hotel, a favorite hangout or tambayan of the trio. Just so you guys know, this hotel has a reputation of being the site of under-the-table deals, and most of the people who visited the hotel were from the House of Representatives in Quezon City Hall. Paloma claimed that their blouses were ripped open by the trio, who then took turns to kiss her. She said that Richie pinned her arms at her back so Vic could kiss her effortlessly, while Joey De Leon took photographs. According to Paloma, Joey De Leon first molested her and Gorin and she was later on, quote unquote, gang raped by Soto, De Leon, and Ricardo Reyes. Guarin stated that she witnessed the rape. The scandal made news headlines and became the cover story of a major entertainment magazine. Now, Ray de la Cruz, the two actresses' talent manager, filed a complaint with then Defense Minister Juan Ponce Enrile, which was pro bono. So if you guys are wondering what pro bono means, it's basically work done with no pay or for a charity cause. Pepsi Paloma filed charges of rape and acts of lasciviousness against three television personalities on August 18 of 1982. Now here's a little trivia, and from what I've researched on, an illegal angle, noong 1982 pala, rape was classified as a crime of chastity. So ano nga ba ang crime of chastity? They're basically crimes against and involving sexual behavior. So, at that time, hindi siya crime against a person. Ngayon, sino naman ang pwedeng magkaso? Of course, yung aggrieved party, at kung siya man ay minor, either guardian niya or the nearest kin, at kung wala talaga, it can be the state. It was only till 1997 when a crime of rape is denominated as a crime against a person. Now here's where it gets messed up for Pepsi. In a Who magazine interview published on September 29 of 1982, Joey De Leon and the two Soto brothers told their side of the story. This is what they said their side of the story was. The two women, Pepsi and Guaja Guarin, came after the TV host, not the other way around. After the taping for School Bukol, the actresses requested for souvenir photos of the boys kissing them. It was later claimed that the two pictures were taken. One showing Vic wearing sunglasses and kissing Pepsi, with her holding on passionately to his nape. And the other, with Joey giving an awkward kiss to Pepsi, who looked as if he's trying to get out of the embrace because, as they claimed, her mouth had bubblegum. Now Tito Soto comes in the picture and also countered Pepsi's accusation that their blouses were ripped apart, saying, "How can you easily rip a pair of maong? Suppose we did tear their shirts apart at Broadcast City. Why would they follow us all the way to Sulo? To get a script? So ibig sabihin walang nakakita sa kanila na sira-sira damit nila? Imposible. Di magagawa rin ni Vic yun kasi babakla-bakla yun eh," as he stated. Now we know Joey De Leon for his disgusting and sometimes controversial humor. When he was called for his preliminary arraignment, which is 6 hours before the arrest, and when the defendant is read the charges against him or her, he went to change for a t-shirt bearing the words, quote unquote, "Coke is it," which in my opinion is his reference to Pepsi Paloma, who was one of the soft drink beauties. Tito Soto at that time was just about to become a senator in just a decade. He became involved. Allegedly, he coerced Paloma to drop the charges by intimidating her. Paloma claimed that he met with her to have her sign an affidavit of desistance. Now, an affidavit of assistance is where the aggrieved party is no longer interested in pursuing the case. There were mentions that he produced a gun and placed it on the table. It was also said that the affidavit was signed, although some speculations reached the newspaper reports and stated that Paloma's mother was the one who signed the document on her behalf. Now you might be thinking, why is Tito Soto getting so involved? Why does he keep butting in? Why is he trying so hard to cover up for his brother and friends? Now, during this time, martial law was pretty much just lifted, and it's still fresh. Therefore, a death penalty still exists, done by the electric chair. After Tito Soto's intervention, Vic Soto, Joey De Leon, and Ricardo Reyes were let off the hook. Throughout the passing days after the affidavit was signed, Vic Soto, Joey De Leon, and Ricardo Reyes gave interviews, strenuously denying the rape. They claimed it was a gimmick concocted by Paloma's manager, and they filed libel charges. Now, according to the Philippines Revised Penal Code, a libel is defined as a public and malicious imputation of a crime, which is tending to cause dishonor or to discredit a natural or juridical person. Around this time, Paloma was reported missing and was found being held captive by a convicted felon, Bienvenido Ben Ulo Mendoza, a relative of the Sotos. Despite his arrest and confession, there is no record that Ben Ulo was ever charged with any crime connected with the abduction of Pepsi Paloma. 3 months after the alleged rape, an apparent change of heart was then made for the trio. They went on to admit that they did something wrong. They issued a public apology. Their statement was broadcasted on live TV and was published in the People's Journal on 13 of October 1982. They admitted to an error and said that they wanted to move on. This is what they said: "We hope that you will not allow the error we have committed against you to stand as a stumbling block to that future which we all look forward to. We therefore ask you to find it in your heart to pardon us for the wrong which we have done against you." While I was looking this up online, no record of it exists, unfortunately. And I realized that they'd never actually specifically mentioned the word rape. Pepsi Paloma did not pursue her complaint, and the case did not go to court because of the affidavit of desistance. Interestingly, Pepsi agreed to star in the film The Victim, a movie which tried to imitate the exploitation of her own experience as a rape victim. The movie did really well, and yes, although it did give her recognition, some doubted her rape accusation against the celebrities and started to believe that maybe it really was just one of Ray de la Cruz's publicity gimmicks. A year after the infamous rape, she also left her manager for her boyfriend, Roy Rustan, who was living in Makati. During this time, Pepsi allegedly had an abortion and became addicted to drugs. By the time she decided to return to Ray de la Cruz in 1983, Pepsi was so thin and frail that she had to be confined to a private clinic. When she got better, she still continued to dance in bars and accept movie roles. In the year 1985, she got a new manager named Babette Corcuera, as well as a boyfriend named Jose and an adopted child. In May of 1985, Pepsi Paloma's life comes to an end. Pepsi was found dead, hanging in her room closet, wearing a yellow nightgown and an open diary where the words she wrote were, quote unquote, "This is a crazy planet." In that diary, a list of her monetary problems have been cited detailedly, with a total amount of 9,750 pesos. Written also were her anxiety over her relationship with her mother and her worries of not being able to have enough shows and castings to appear to in order to pay for her debts. Although the diary was found in her bedroom by investigators, the authenticity of the journal's entries have been questioned, especially by her manager, who claimed she was actually earning really well. It was also revealed that she was 17, meaning the alleged rape had occurred when she was 14. During investigations, the Quezon City police had no attempt of ruling foul play in verifying the diary's handwriting, if it matched Pepsi, or did they check their room for foreign fingerprints? This made me speculate about her suicide, if it really was a suicide. I read on about why suicide by hanging method is done, and I found in a study called Factors Influencing the Decision to Use Hanging as a Method of Suicide, uploaded on Cambridge.org. It is mentioned that the accessibility made it easy, since the tools would be available at hand. Now, as I was researching about Pepsi's suicide, I came to realization that there really has been no mention of a stool or a chair that Pepsi may have used the day she died. Because in order to execute a suicide by hanging, one either has to have something to step off of in order to hang. Later on, it was said that Sarcy, a friend of Pepsi and the soft drink beauties, said that she has always confided to her about her family problems and that Pepsi had actually attempted to suicide a week before her death by means of blade. It was also mentioned that Pepsi's mom denied the statements in her diary where her mom did not have a good relationship with her. Now more speculations arose of her suicide because she had just adopted a child, which was later on revealed to be her half-brothers and her best friend's child, who were 14 at that time. Pepsi, who was already 18 and had voluntarily taken in the child because her half-brother and her best friend were too young for that responsibility. Her new manager claimed that she was fully booked of her schedule for shows, movies, which was in a week's pay is up to 10,000 pesos and 2,500 a night for her bar shows. Bebet Corcuera, her manager, said that Pepsi had been financially stable for quite some time and had been planning her debut. This is why, even to her manager, Pepsi committing suicide does not add up. Years later, it was said that Ray de la Cruz, her former manager, was shot dead. Ray de la Cruz was murdered. His murder case is still unsolved, as online sources state. What's stranger, though, is that you can't even seem to find anything about it online. There is a suspect named Filemon Popoy Lagman, head of the Communist Party in Metro Manila, who was shot in 2001, and he supposedly had 2 pending arrest warrants, one for the alleged assassination of barangay official Ray de la Cruz in Quiapo, Manila. Now, a popular Filipino band, the Eraserheads, referenced the incident of what happened to Pepsi in one of their songs. Spolarium. The song is Spolarium. It's kind of an urban legend here. Some said that it wasn't really about Pepsi Paloma's case. Eraserhead's road manager at that time explained that it was just a literal retelling of one of their drinking sessions. The band leader confirmed it right away. Eli Buendia was once asked in 2011 if Pepsi Paloma is the inspiration behind the song. And do you know what he answered? He said, "I will take the secret to the grave." He could have just given a simple yes or no answer, but he didn't, which then this raised a lot of curiosity and speculations. As the saying goes, if there's a smoke, then there's a fire. Honestly, you guys, I refuse to believe it was only about a drinking session, given the subliminal message of the song. If you watch the song's official music video, it shows anything but a drinking spree, They even chose a girl to cast in that music video that kind of looks like Pepsi Paloma. With that said, this was a very hot issue then and even now. Two mysterious deaths, Pepsi and her manager Ray, and in addition to all that, a song, Spolarium. For me, this is an institutional betrayal. It's the perfect chilling phrase. She was up against powerful folks who to this day want to stifle even basic information about this case. What about you guys? What do you think of this case? What are your thoughts about Pepsi? Do you think it's a suicide? Do you think it's murder? For those listening on my YouTube channel, let me know in the comments. Feel free to criticize and analyze, and if you do have some additional information that I might have missed out, I'd love to read about them. That's it for today's True Crime podcast. Once again, this is Elle's Voice, now signing off.